Top 5 not obvious but super useful features of Final Cut Pro. Let's dive into it. And the first really useful tool is the built-in Zebra inside of Final Cut Pro. If you shoot video, you definitely know what Zebra does, and we have it built into Final Cut Pro. So if you go to View, then go down to Range Check section, Rec 709, it works only for Rec 709 and doesn't work with log footage or with HLG footage, and we'll talk about it in the next tip. Here we have the Luma and the saturation and the all functions. If we enable Luma, you'll see that Zebra appears behind my shoulder right here, where we have a very bright spot of light. Then we can go and dial down the highlights, and there you can see that the Zebra is not apparent, we have no overexposure right there. But if I were to raise the highlights, you'll see Zebra on my shirt, for example, and then on my face, etc. And it only clips in Rec 709 color space. As you can tell right here, we have the Rec 709, and also right here it is written Rec 709. So also we have the Zebra for shadows. If we crush the shadows, you'll see that the Zebra appears right here. And if we disable this function, you'll see that the shadows are completely crushed, for example, in my hair. So next we enable the Luma once again, and let's make the image look decent without clipping the highlights or crushing the shadows. So here we have no shadow clipping, almost. Let me raise it a little bit, one more. Yeah. And then the recovery of the highlights. And there you go, guys. We have perfectly exposed image in Rec 709. To prove my words about the range check function working only in Rec 709, here we have a very overexposed clip. And as you can tell, we have the Zebra right here. So it's definitely overexposed. I did overexpose it on purpose. Initially, it was an S-Log3 footage without any overexposure, as you can tell from the waveform and the RGB parade. But then, as you can tell, guys, we have the custom LUT being first on top, and then we have all the color corrections on the bottom after the LUT. And that's not the right way to work with log footage, because you limit yourself to Rec 709 color space if you put it on top of all the corrections. The LUT should be in the bottom of all corrections, like I show you right here, and then all the corrections should be done before the LUT, so you can restore each and every highlight detail. You can work a lot with the shadows, with the midtones, with saturation. So this is the correct way to work with this color space. Because as you can tell here in the custom LUT section, we have Rec 709 and Rec 709 as input and output. And it means that if you put it right here, you're now working only in Rec 709 color space, like so. But we don't want that. We want the whole dynamic range, the whole potential of this image, and that is why we put it to the bottom part. It's the same system as in DaVinci Resolve, so the conversion LUT should be in the last node, let me say. And here is another example. So here we have the custom LUT being the last correction on the bottom, and it's the correct one. And underneath it, we have this footage where we have the LUT on the top. So it's already converted to Rec 709 and the corrections are done afterwards. And if we toggle between those two, you can see that here we have bigger dynamic range, more information in the shadows, and here we have less dynamic range, more contrasty image, and a little bit of overexposure because we're working in the Rec 709 color space. So each and every time when you work in S-Log, N-Log, F-Log, whatever log you're using, the custom LUT should be set as the last correction node. The next pretty cool feature in Final Cut Pro, and not a lot of editors and colorists are using this feature for some reason. So you go to Window, then you go to Show in Workspace, and then to Comparison Viewer. Or you can hit Ctrl-Command-6 to enable or disable this function. So here we have two tabs, the Timeline tab and the Save tab. If you choose the Saved, you can save the frame and it'll be your reference shot. And then if you use the timeline, you have the previous edit, which is this shot, and the next edit, which is this shot. And basically you compare it with the previous one or with the next one, and then you can color grade the footage without hopping between each frame back and forth, and it's really easy to use. You can also adjust this the scale of both shots. You can make it like so, or you can make it even. And then we have right here your scopes, so you can use the RGB parade, the vector scope, or whatever scope you prefer. And it's much easier to work this way, so you work with the image on the right and the reference image will be on the left. And as you can tell, you can adjust the image like so and simply compare them like this. A very nice feature to have. And the next really important tip for talking headshots or podcasts, as you can see here, I have a podcast with my actually student, and we have 3 different cameras, the wide shot, his shot and mine shot. And if I were to color grade each and every shot of my talking head, this would be a nightmare, because as you can tell, we have 1 hour and 46 minutes of the podcast, and it's a huge podcast with tons of different cuts, and I won't be able to use it and to make the adjustments easily if I don't do it in a compound clip. So as you can tell, here it's written Oleg, it's my name, and here we have the compound clip. If we double click it, we go inside of the compound clip, and I do make the compound clip as soon as I drop the footage on the timeline. The entire 2 hours of the footage is right here. And then I can color grade it in here. For example, if I desaturate this image and I go back to the podcast, you can tell that it's now black and white in the entire podcast. As you can see right here, it's black and white, here, and etc. right here as well. So if your client wants you to make the image look slightly cooler or something, I don't know, make it black and white, you don't have to change it in each and every shot. You can simply make a compound clip first and make the adjustments inside of the compound clip. So let's get back and give the saturation back to this clip. And now I'm getting back, and all of those shots are now being color graded in the same fashion. It's really handy, guys. And the next tip, guys, is about the video animation function in Final Cut Pro. So you probably saw this clip in Instagram. So we have 3 vertical shots and they're kind of scrolling to the left. And you probably saw some posts. It's pretty popular, like almost viral in Instagram right now. And it looks really cool. And now we have this situation. I tried to make this video, and then we have this gap in the middle, and it's really weird. I'm not really understanding what is happening, and it happens because of the keyframes are being set to the smooth function and not the linear function. So basically in here in the compound clips, we have 3 different clips. They are vertical and they're just stacked like so, 1, 2, 3. Then if we go back, here we have the keyframes. So if we set it like so, we have one shot that is moving from the right to the left, and the other shot that is moving from the middle to the left. And they're simply keyframed as usual. But if you use the stock setting, the default setting for the keyframes, you'll have this pretty annoying gap, because the keyframe is going like fast, then slower in the middle, and then faster in the end. And here what we can do is right click and go to show video animations, or hit Ctrl V to show it or to hide it. And right here you'll see transform, then we go to position, because we work with position, as you can see from here in the inspector. And this is the keyframe 1 and the keyframe 2. And with the right click, we can see that here we have the linear or the smooth motion, and we also can delete the keyframe. You have to be in this position mode, because if you hit all, you won't be able to modify it. You have to be in a certain mode for this position. As you can tell, by default, it's on smooth in both images. And then if we go right here, we hit Ctrl V, we go to video animation transform tool, set the position, and then here right click and it's set to linear. The same goes for the first keyframe, and the same goes for the bottom part of the keyframes. If we right click it, you'll see that it's set to linear. And only when they are all set to linear speed, we have a linear movement from left to right, or from right to left actually. And as you can tell, guys, it works flawlessly. Whereas when we have the smooth animation, we have this pretty annoying gap. And you can play around with your keyframes, knowing that sometimes linear works better or sometimes smooth works better. And you can also play around with different parts of video animation, not only with the transform, but also with rotation, scaling, trimming, and even with audio animation with different fades ins and fades outs. And the bonus tip for you guys, if you want to work in the vertical space like so it takes the entire space like this, it's not inside of Final Cut Pro yet, but you can go into Safari and go to this website, fcpbooster.com. I'll leave a link in the description of my video. And here you can rearrange your viewer, browser, etc. You can almost place it in any way. But the main reason is to put the viewer like this, so it's a vertical viewer. And then you can export the FCP workspace. And don't forget to buy a coffee for the creator of this thing. Huge thank you. And then right here, there is an instruction. And after you do everything correctly, then you go to Final Cut Pro, Window, Workspaces, and here you'll see your workspace, but it won't have hotkeys. To make the hotkeys, you can watch my next video where I explain how to make different workspaces and how to assign hotkeys to those. You'll need to dive into the system settings a little bit to make it work. And basically I have 3 different ones. This is the Browse tab, where I can change my footage, look through it, etc. Also the color grading tab, with all of the scopes and no browser whatsoever, with a big preview window for vertical and horizontal content. And for vertical content specifically, I have this one, which is almost a full width, full height of the monitor set up like this. So you can watch this video right here if you want to set your workspaces correctly and to save up a ton of time and space on your pretty small screen. Even the 16-inch really does need this function. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like and subscribe buttons, guys, and hit the notifications bell. See you, take care, bye.